to my channel. So today's video is going to be on this super dramatic purple smoky eye. I tried to use anything that was like purple or pink for this because I wanted to do another Valentine's Day look, but just have it a lot more dark and dramatic and smokier than my last one, because my last one was just really like pink and glittery and girly. So I wanted to do something that was like completely opposite of that. It still will be a lot of fun for like a night out or something, even if it's not Valentine's Day. Anyways, I'm just going to get right into this video. So if you aren't already, then please subscribe to my channel, and if you want to know how I got this makeup look, then just keep watching. Okay, so I already filled in my eyebrows and primed my eyelids off camera, and I just used the Soft Ochre Paint Pot by MAC and then set that with a skin colored eyeshadow. And today I'm mostly going to be working out of the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette that looks like this. So to start, I'm using the shade Are You Kidding Me? And I'm going to be popping that color right into my crease. So I'm just going back and forth a bunch of times just so that it's really nice and blended out. And I'm just kind of going in like an upside down C shape. And then going in circular motions to buff it out. And then on that same brush, I'm mixing Transition and Hashtag together and putting that a little bit higher up above that crease color that I just used, just to warm the transition area up a little bit. I'm going to start working on the lid. So for that, I'm using the Sephora Colorful Shadow and Liner Chubby Stick Pencil, and I'm using the shade Dark Brown Matte 24. So what I'm going to do is just focus this on the lower half of my eyelid. I'm not going to bring it up too far, and then right after I put it on, I'm going to go in with my finger and then blend that out, because it does dry really fast, and if you let it dry before smudging it out, it is going to be really hard to move that around. The reason why I did that is because when you're working with really dark purples that are especially mattes, it's really hard to get them to go on not patchy. And so what I like to do is just put something that's a little bit stickier down and darker underneath a purple eyeshadow, so then it sticks a lot better and shows up more, and it also helps to keep it stay on a lot longer. So I'm going to be using the shade Curfew from Makeup Geek. I'm just packing that on a MAC 242 brush, and then I'm just going to start packing that right over top of where I put that shadow crayon. I'm going to go back into my crease shades, and I'm using the shade Wine and Dine from that same palette, and then I'm just going to start building that up right in the crease. So I'm doing the same thing that I was doing with the very first shade that I used, and just going in like an upside down C shape and just going back and forth a bunch of times until it's about the color that you want it to be at. And then I'll go in and buff that out in little circular motions. And then since our last were that lid shade, I'm just going to go back in with a little bit more in that same brush and just go right over top of where I dusted some of it off. So now I'm going to move on to my eyeliner, and what I'm using is the Stila Stay All Day Liquid Lipstick in the shade Chianti. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's just this really pretty deep purple shade that I thought would be perfect for this. So what I'm going to do is just take this on any flat surface, and I'm just swiping off a little bit of the liquid lipstick and then dipping into it with this little teeny tiny lip brush, and then just do my eyeliner how I would normally do. For my eyelashes, I'm using these Salon Perfect eyelashes. It's the number 614. I just got these at Walmart. They were like $5 for this whole pack, so it's a super good deal. And I'm just going to be using my House of Lashes glue. This is my all-time favorite eyelash glue. And then while that glue dries, I'm just going to be doing a quick coat of mascara on my actual eyelashes so that they match the color of the fake ones. Okay, so this is what the glue should look like when it's ready to be put on. It just starts to get like a little bit darker and more see-through instead of just white. And so I'm just going to take my tweezers and hold them as close as I can to the eyelash band, and then just hold them in the middle and then press them on right in the center of my eyelid. And then once that part is on, I'm going to grab the outside of it and then press it on right above where my eyelashes sit on the outer corner, and then go to the inner corner and do the same exact thing. And then I'll just take my tweezers and pinch them together so that they kind of blend in with my natural lashes a little bit more. Now I just like to hide the eyelash band a little bit because the glue sometimes dries a little bit noticeable, so I'm just taking my Stila Stay All Day liquid eyeliner and running over the eyelash bands so that it's a little bit more black and blends in. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my face because I don't like doing my lower lash line before I have my concealer and foundation on because I feel like I'm just covering up my eyeshadow on my lower lash line. So I'm just going to be doing this first. And I'm going to be prepping my under eyes because they've been super dry lately. I'm using the Smashbox Photo Finish Hydrating Under Eye Primer. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out on the tube and then just directly put that underneath my eyes. And then I'm just patting that in with my finger. Then to prime my face, I'm using the Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer. And I'm just going to be taking my finger and taking about that much on it and putting that on my cheek area where I have some larger pores. Then I'm just going to be slowly gliding my finger over this entire area just to let all of that primer kind of like fills in my pores. You always want to prime your face to fill in any pores and fine lines and just any imperfections that you might have before you're doing your foundation, because if you put a primer on before your foundation, then your foundation has something to stick onto instead of just kind of like seeping into your pores. It's kind of just like a base layer for the foundation, and it just makes the foundation sit on your skin so much better, and it makes it last a lot longer, and it also makes your face just look completely flawless before adding foundation. So that's why I never ever skip using a primer. Even if I'm not wearing anything on my face, I'll still wear just a primer if I'm just like running out of the house or something, especially any primers with silicone bases in them because they're really smoothing, so they make your face look like just absolutely flawless. Anyways, for my foundation, I'm using the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Foundation, and I'm using the shade number 40. I think this should be about my shade right now. If it's not, then I'm going to have to add some of my Cover FX drops. It's a little light. Okay, so I'm just going to be adding one little drop of my Cover FX Custom Enhancer drops, or Custom Cover Drops, and I use the shade N70, so it's just like a few shades darker than my actual skin tone, and I'm just going to be putting a little bit next to that, and then rubbing that together with my finger, and that should be about the perfect shade. And then to blend all that in, I'm using a Morphe M4 39 brush. For my concealer, I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Light Medium Honey, and I'm just going to be dotting this around the center of my face just to highlight it so that my face doesn't look so two-dimensional. I want it to be more three-dimensional, so I want to bring the center of my face forward. And then I'm using a beauty blender to blend that out. And then to set my concealer, I'm using the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I use the shade Translucent Light. This is the lightest shade that they have in this. I think they have 3 shades, I want to say. I'm just dumping a little bit of that into the cap. And then I'm using my Kat Von D Shade and Light contour brush, and I'm using the highlighting side. Tapping off the extra so there's just a little tiny bit of product on my brush, and then setting the concealer. So the reason why you want to set your concealer is because if you don't set it, well, for me at least, I'm really oily, so I always need to set my concealer. Otherwise, my concealer will crease really bad on me. If you set your concealer before it kind of like sets itself, then it won't set into any of those fine lines and creases. And it helps if you set it right after you blend out the concealer. And then I'm just going to be doing the same exact thing and setting right here where I put that concealer on my chin, because I do have a line in my chin, like a crease almost, so I always like to set that. And then I also set just the very center of my forehead where I put the concealer. And then the last place that I set is the corners of my nose, and then I just kind of drag like the extra product that's on my brush around the rest of my nose. And the reason why I do the corners is because, again, I am really oily, and when I set the corners of them, it kind of locks the concealer and everything there in place so that when I do get oily, it doesn't like slip inside around. Okay, now I'm going to bronze up the face a little bit, and I'm using the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer in the shade Medium Deep Matte. And I'm using a Morphe R7 brush, tapping off the extra again, and then just kind of dusting that all around the outsides of my face, and again, just to give my face a little bit more dimension. Now I'm going to line my waterline with this ColourPop Cream Gel Liner in the shade Crybaby. It's just like a really pretty lavender purple. And the reason why I'm using such a light shade is because I want the bottom of my eyes to pop a little bit more, since I did use such dark shades on the top. So I'm just using my powder brush to pull down my eyelid because I don't want the heat from my fingertips to heat up the concealer and move that. And then to smoke out my lower lash line, I'm using the shade Teddy Bear from that same Violet Voss palette that I was using earlier. And I'm using a Morphe M432 brush. And I'm just going to be smudging that right underneath my waterline, so like right at the top of my lash line. And then to smudge that out a little bit, I'm using the shade Wine and Dine on a Morphe M506 brush. For my inner corner highlight, I'm using the shade So Jelly from that same palette again on a Morphe E36 brush. Okay, now I'm going to clean up my bronze line a little bit, and I'm using the RCMA No Color Powder. I just put some of it into the cap, and I'm going to be dipping my Beauty Blender into that and then putting it right below where my contour line is going to be. And then I'm just going to let that sit there and bake. And then you'll see once I wipe that off, there's just going to be like a perfect line that was basically just effortless to get because of this powder, and it's just going to make it really easy for me to contour. So while that sits and bakes for a little bit, I'm using the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in the shade Mood Exposure. I'm using a Morphe M104 brush, and then I'm just putting that on the apples of my cheeks. I also love this blush because it has a little bit of a sheen to it, so when you put it on your cheeks, it gives you like that natural glow. And then for my highlight today, I'm using the Kat Von D Alchemist palette. Wow, you can't even see it. I'm using the shade Pink Opal from this palette. It's this one right here. I'm using a Morphe R36 brush, and I'm just going to be focusing that right on the high points of my cheekbones. And then just running the extra that was on my brush over the tip of my nose. Okay, now I'm just going to be contouring a little bit. I'm using the Anastasia Contour Kit, and I'm going to be mixing these two shades together, and then using that same brush that I was using before, and then just putting that into the hollows of my cheeks. And then I'm going to dust off all of that bakage. Alright, now for my lip color, I'm using the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil in the shade Liar. Then I'm going to be using the Morphe Liquid Lipstick in the shade Vanity. These are brand new, and I only have this shade, but it is really pretty. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to add too much of it, I'm just going to put it on my fingertip, like that much of it, tap it on the other finger, and then I'm just going to tap it onto my lips. And this is just going to make any liquid lipstick feel a lot more comfortable on lips because you aren't adding as much and you're constantly patting it in and blending it in, so it's going to be a really nice, even, comfortable wear. And then to set my whole face, I'm using the Laura Geller Spackle Mist Spray. Okay, so that completes this makeup look. I really hope you guys liked it. I know it's super dark and dramatic, but I did want to do something that was like completely opposite than my last Valentine's Day video. And of course you can wear this even when it's not Valentine's Day. I still would wear this like any day of the week. So if you liked this video, then please give this a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.